Today we will continue our celebration of Black History Month, and this is our last week of celebration. Just as a recap of what we talked about earlier in talking about the significance of Black History Month, it's a time that we celebrate the achievements and contributions of African Americans throughout the history, not just today, but over the years. It's a time when we reflect on the struggles and achievements of African Americans. Now, the church can play a role, and it does play a role in that, because it provides for us the spiritual connection with our faith in regard to the struggle. As we reminded you early on, the theme for this month is African Americans and labor. So today we will present to you a video on individuals who have participated in the labor force and the work process over the years. They are people who are within our congregation and community people. So without further ado, we present you our honorees for today.
Former Judge Mamie Chin, a community activist and social worker, was elected as Madison County's first African-American Justice Court judge. Let's hear from Judge Chin now as she is interviewed by Dr. George.
Civil rights and human rights. I believe I hear you say sometimes human rights is
They are so interconnected, but during that era, our time, your time, and my time, the height of the civil rights movement, with the focus on civil rights kind of directed toward African Americans, it took on a little bit of a different tone. It had to, but when you really think deeply, it benefited human rights. It benefited all of us in the long run, even up to now. The labor and the issues pertaining to labor, because it was so intertwined with the issues of voting rights and all the civil rights that was integrated into that specific topic.
Does it kind of remind you of what's going on now?
What is going on now is rather disturbing to me now, that I've lived through so much and seen firsthand, not from the history book,
okay,
from word of mouth, but the actual, well, you might just go say participation, coming in from the 60s era,
okay,
and the problems with Black folks, African Americans, and labor. It was so intertwined into, as I forestated, civil rights and the whole issue, big issue, the grand issue of voting rights, which then opened the door so many other rights. Because I can remember, that may have been 12 or younger, I was very young, reading in a Jet magazine.
mm-hmm.
Somehow or other, these Jet magazines would come in here on the train from Chicago, and Black folks would be scrambling around, and boy, you get a Jet so you could read and see what's going on across the land.
Can't find them now.
And then the Jet magazine was a source, and there was a newspaper out of Jackson, very small paper.
Advocate, Jackson Advocate?
I believe it was the Advocate, and I don't know if it was a Handy. I just can't quite remember. But then occasionally we would get this paper out of Chicago,
okay,
the Chicago Defender, I believe it was.
mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, and I would read, and I would just be so fascinated by what I was reading. I was a child, but I don't know if, I know our young people probably don't, But if we really stay focused on the past issues as to inform what we need to be doing now and into the future, enough. We working hard.
Mm-hmm.
We still working, but if we're doing enough, because I mean, this is the space age. This is the everything now is
electronic,
tele-electronics, and now they putting me behind with these computers. I had to have my grandson to set my telephone, and you know, he's 22, and I am only 85.
All right,
and he's
beautiful
22.
age.
But I keep feeling that we kind of missing here some things that we need to really be focused on. I think the education system is coming along, you know, in the colleges and schools, and teaching all of the new elements of education that we need desperately if we're going to keep up, stay in the struggle, you know, to keep us going.
Okay.
But way back, I can remember even my mother and my father and labor, and they talk about the cotton fields and the plantation life. And, you know, I don't know if we say to a young person, 20, 21 years old, we built America.
Amen.
I don't know if they know, what is she talking about? We built America.
We did.
Well, if we built America on $1 a day, on the plantation working for nothing, we did build America. I was in New Orleans on a trip years ago, and parts of New Orleans is so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And the group I was with was saying, you know, it's almost like a slogan. Well, you know, we built all of this.
That's right.
For nothing.
That's
you
right.
know. But you take young people that go down there now enjoying and having a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they would know that this beauty that you're enjoying, these cobblestone streets and all these bricks laid.
We
so
helped to build the White
that was
House.
slave built.
That's
You
right.
know, and as you're saying, the very White House
Mm-hmm. We
and
sure did.
monuments in this country, we built them.
That's
You know,
right.
it's on our backs, on the backs of slaves, and then in the 20s and 30s and early 40s, it was still bad. It was better, but it was still bad. And the great migrations up north, labor was calling people to come to Chicago and Detroit to work for better wages, the automotive industry
Mm-hmm.
and all, and they did somewhat better, but they still didn't do as well as we have been led to believe, you know, that they were doing, because it was hard, that labor force. I can remember as I became an adult, my father saying that I left Canton. My dad said, I left because of work. He said, I was a skilled carpenter, but I couldn't get any good jobs that paid well. Then that pushed him away from the home to New Orleans, where he could work and do better down, and that's where he lived most of the time, most of his life in New Orleans.
That was the pattern that when I grew up, when you finished high school, you didn't worry about college because mom and dad didn't have the money.
Yeah.
You go north, young man, go north.
Go north.
And get you a good, we call it a good job.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and a good house, a
Uh-huh.
good job,
Uh-huh.
and go and get into the schools. And I don't know which of the colleges were open.
Tougaloo probably was.
I don't know, when they migrated north, was Michigan State taking black students?
I think so.
I think they
That
were.
was an exchange
Uh-huh.
program.
Mm-hmm. And there was another college that took, I know, Tougaloo students.
Brown.
Michigan, it was Michigan
Brown.
and Brown.
Yeah, Brown.
Brown,
Mhm.
up there in Boston.
That's right.
Yeah, those schools, which then led to improvement, education, labor, and all that was necessary for this American dream that we say we live.
That's right.
You understand? That we
Mhm.
say we are living, and a few of us maybe. But I can remember my mother, my dad, the older folks in the family, my ancestors working so hard. And I can remember they would work 6 days.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you'd be off on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And then right back Monday to that grind.
That's right.
And just, barely make it from a paycheck to paycheck. And that went on for many, many years.
That's right.
I can remember Friday to Friday in my lifetime and all. And then you had, in my lifetime, when you had the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act, and then we had federal programs. We had the Head Start programs and other types of Fair Housing Acts, which opened so many doors for us.
Mrs. Tommy Anderson is an early childhood education provider and mentor. She served as a Head Start Center teacher for 45 years. Let's hear from her now.
I know your work started at home, Miss Anderson,
Yes, ma'am.
because you had how many children?
I had 12 children.
12 children.
8
Wow.
girls and 4 boys.
8 girls and 4 boys. My mom almost had the same number.
Mm-hmm.
She had 10 children,
Thank
4
God.
boys
Thank
and
God.
6 girls.
Thank God.
All right. So you started your work at home
Yes, ma'am.
because you had a schoolhouse there.
Yes, ma'am. Sure did.
And you've done a beautiful job, Miss Anderson.
Thank you. Thank you.
And what company did you work the longest for?
Friends of children.
Okay. And how many years did you work?
I worked in the whole setting of the work, and I worked 45 years before I retired.
Wow. 45 years.
Before I retired.
Do you remember what year you retired?
In 2013.
2013. Wow, that's so
Well,
long.
Just let me say this. The reason I retired, my mother was sick, and I retired to take care of my mother
Okay.
so I could be with her every day.
How long did your mom live?
My mom lived to get 103 years old.
Wow. So longevity is in your family. Isn't that something? All right. Now, I thought about this and I said, now, over all of those 45 years plus that you worked, what was your most enjoyable moment or experience that you came into during that period of time?
Well, I'd be honest, I just loved working with the children.
Okay.
That was the biggest, best part of it. Working with the children, helping children. Where there were some things wasn't going too well with them, and I would be their mother for them. I would be there for the children.
Beautiful.
Mrs. Eula Mason, a retired educator of 36 years, was among the first group of African-American teachers to integrate the Pearl Public Schools district. She continues to inspire lives as a counselor, chaplain, and songstress. Mrs. Alice M. Scott is a former teacher, school principal, community activist, and alderwoman. She was elected as the City of Canton's first female and African-American mayor. Let's hear from her now.
All that I have done, is doing, and will do in the future. Praise God. I am his vessel, and he has truly filled me with experiences and work ethics to affect eternity with what you do for others that count. All right now. Also, that an educator and politician affect eternity and can never tell where her influence starts nor stops. I have matched my life story with 5 other Black leaders who shaped the labor movement and civil rights, namely Mary McLeod Bethune, A. Philip Randolph, Bayard Rustin, Hattie Canton, Chris Smalls,
We honor the memory of Mrs. Jimmy and Mr. James Goodloe Sr., who worked as educators, school principals, and entrepreneurs. At the height of his farming career, Mr. Goodloe harvested from more than 1,500 acres. He and his wife were the owners of Family Memorial Funeral Services. Mr. Mason-Bolden is a business owner and community leader. He served as mayor of Canton and has owned a state farm insurance agency for more than 32 years.
Greetings. My name is Mason-Bolden, and I'm proud to be a part of this historical segment entitled African Americans in Labor. I truly believe, for the most part, that we as African Americans have hard work and labor built into our DNA. I'm the proud descendant of a sharecropper grandmother and grandfather who lived in this little shack here, whereas they raised 7 children, one of them being my mother. Today, I'm a proud and successful state farm agent, whereas I served my citizens and my community members, providing them with financial services in the form of auto insurance, life insurance, health insurance, and homeowners insurance. I'm also the former mayor of our community, whereas I provided a better quality of life for the citizens of our community. I thank God for giving me the opportunity that He has provided me with, coming from humble beginnings. And every day, I say proudly, to God be the glory.
Mrs. Mary Jackson Sims is an evangelist and licensed practical nurse who worked in the medical field for 42 years. Let's hear from her own words.
My name is Mary Jackson Sim. I am an LPN 2. I'm retired in 2016. I spent most of my employment in nursing and geriatric care and Alzheimer's dementia units. I found it to be very rewarding taking care of the elderly. My kids tell me all the time, Mama, you know you love elderly people. And I say, yes, I do. And I tell anyone today that is choosing to go into the nursing field that you need these 3 characteristics. 1 is love. 2 is patience. And 3 is understanding.
Mrs. Ruth Gray attended nursing school in Iowa and was the only African American in the town. Over the span of her 50-year nursing career, Mrs. Gray served in the states of New York, Mississippi, Massachusetts. Now in retirement, she continues service to mankind. Let's hear from her now.
I believe that each one of us was put on this earth for a reason. In the book of Ephesians, chapter 4, verse 11, the Bible tells us that God gives us gifts. Some of us are called to be prophets, some evangelists, some pastors, and I believe that some of us were called to be caregivers. I am a graduate of St. Anthony's School of Nursing in Carroll, Iowa, the only Black person in that town at the time of my graduation. I have worked in hospitals in New York, Boston, and Mississippi. I'm retired now, and I serve as the chairperson for the Congregational Health Ministry at Canton United. My Aunt Susie was a nurse, and I was inspired to be a nurse just watching her at an early age. I come from a big family, and Aunt Susie was the one who would pack a bag and rush to wherever a sick family member was, and she would stay until they took their last breath. I saw her show the love and the patience and compassion and all the lives that she touched in her 97 years on this earth. In my Aunt Susie's obituary, there was a short poem that pretty much describes her life. And I would like for that to be my poem while I'm on this side. And it simply says, if I can do some good today, if I can serve along life's way, if I can aid one in distress, if I can make a burden less, if I can spread more happiness, Lord, show me how.
Mrs. Lucinda Taylor Henderson graduated from Alcorn State University in 1969 with a Bachelor of Science degree in elementary education. She retired from teaching after 30 years, Mr. George Henderson is a retired highway trooper. He is one of the first African Americans to serve in this position. The Hendersons are proud parents, grandparents, and great-grandparents. Miss Yamika Porter, a Canton native, learned to cook from her late grandmother, Katie Mae Porter, and her mother. She is a renowned caterer who is known for her dressing and fried chicken, among other dishes. Mr. Calvin B. April, Sr. has been composing, producing, and singing for more than 60 years. He began his career with the Canton Spirituals. He ventured into R&B and even performed on Soul Train. He returned to his gospel roots and sang with the Pilgrim Wonders, his original song. The Time Is Now stayed on Billboard's top 10 for 16 months.
Serve the Lord, serve the Lord. The time is right now. The time is now. Serve the Lord, serve the Lord. It's getting late, it's getting late, and the sun's going down. Time is now, the time is now. Get in a hurry, and do it now. I got one more thing. Serve him today. We need to go back to the old time way. Said it's getting late. It's late in the evening. And the sun's sinking low. Time is now. Get in a hurry and do it now. Listen, y'all.
Mrs. Precious Brown has been a practicing beautician for more than 50 years. The oldest of 13 children, she has been a forerunner in the hair care profession in the city of Canton. We applaud these individuals. We salute all African Americans for their contributions to labor in the United States. Thank you to Dr. Emma George and the Education Committee. Thank you to Dr. LaToya Mason-Bolden and Climb Higher LC for producing this video. We will now conclude with comments from Pastor Kevin A. Carter. To God be the glory.
People about what God had already done for him, and even though he was not able to do what he used to do, yet he did what he history. We have been tremendously blessed down through the years, and to know as African American descent and people that we have not made it thus far by ourselves. We are tremendously blessed for those treads of those footsteps, and we walk in those treads. They have set the specific example down through the years, moments of sacrifices, times of giving up, times of just holding on to what they had, simply because they believed that it was greater to come, and they thought about those who were to come. We are so fortunate here at Canton United to be able to have Dr. George and the educational community to be able to remind us year after year about the importance of every person. Although this theme this year is about the laborers, we want to thank God for all those who have been laboring, those who will never be known about, the unknown faces, the unknown voices, but those who have inclined, because we have been ritualistically blessed to have workmanships down in our zones. And so we're so grateful. We are proud to be Black. I'm Black and I'm proud. So I pray continuously that not only in February, but for the rest of this year and for the rest of our lives, that we realize how blessed we have been and how blessed we are and how blessed we are going to be. May God richly bless you forevermore. God bless you.
Friends, I'm coming up soon.